All right, welcome back to the Ted G podcast, the real Ted G, as opposed to that other guy, the fake Ted G. Today, I have two very nice guests, Emma Murtha, Jeff Andree. They're two of our new agents, young agents in our company, and they wanted to join me for a podcast, not knowing what I would ask. So I'm going to start off with my first question to each of you. And one person has slightly more experience in real estate than the other, but we'll start off with ladies first. And what is, being in the business that you've entered our business, what is something that you were completely wrong about, a misconception when it came to the fantasy of real estate versus the true reality of real estate?
I have an answer for you for that. Getting clients. Getting listings. Definitely thought that might be a little bit easier. Didn't know I knew there was some door knocking and some other things that it entailed, but it's a real hustle and a real grind to build up a contact list and to follow up, and it's a lot of work, and people definitely don't see that are not in real estate.
Well, you did say the magic word. It is work. What did you think?
I didn't think it would be easy by any means, but I thought maybe, a friend, a neighbor, people will test me. Even my friends, oh yeah, what are you doing? What have you sold? Yep, they're getting ready to buy a house. It's not just okay, my best friend is now in real estate and she'll buy a house. I'm proving myself to everyone. So that's been, a bit unexpected, but I wouldn't expect anything less.
Okay, that's 100% accurate. Yeah. I remember being a new agent.
Yeah,
it was 65 million years ago. All right, Jeff. Now you have another nice advantage for a vantage point. You actually weren't always with our company, so you get to answer two questions. Look into the camera. Okay.
What?
So first question is, what do you think, now with a little bit more experience under your belt, what was the main misconception or the number one misconception from before being in the business to currently now being in the business?
My first misconception when I was back with Keller Williams is back when I was in Keller Williams, my first misconception is that I was going to be getting free work, and the reason why is because I joined with somebody else. And because I was with somebody else, I was relying solely on those people. And so I felt like I was holding myself back a little bit. And with coming into Coldwell, I was learning to do stuff for myself instead of working with other people. And so I've learned to be self-sufficient more than I would have been back in Keller Williams.
You make a very good point. And that's something that we do as a company, not just a brand, but especially as a company. There's an old phrase, because I am that old, teach a man to fish. I got it wrong already. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. And that's something that we pride ourselves on when it comes to our training. And, we like to know our agents, when it comes to, especially my agents, when they have success, when they have accolades, when they enjoy a prosperous time. Usually takes 6 months, then they start seeing so many more listings, so many more clients. They earned it. I can guarantee you they earned it. They earned it because they put the work in, and that's the most fun that I like, because once you put the work in, you do see the results. But that's a good take. And you also touched on the topic of teams. That's a whole podcast in itself, and that's like a riot. I could tell you a thing about teams, but you did touch on that topic. And my only advice to teams, there's specific types of styles of teams. The one team that I'm kind of used to is the headliner team. Just make sure that the person's a headliner. Now, do you have a quick question for me? Yeah, go ahead. You could start, Jeff.
When you first went into real estate, which I don't remember the time that you went in, how many years ago, but did you start off on your own? Did you start off with Coldwell? Where did you exactly start?
Oh, that's a nice question. All right. I could say the words that I started off on my own, but I actually had a great support system behind me. I actually started with an independent brokerage who, oddly enough, 3 years in, was bought by our current broker, who purchased, and we became Coldwell Banker. So I got the nice added benefit of a franchise at the exact moment my career really wanted it and craved it. I was with the independent brokerage, and we were number 1 or number 2 in market share in our market area, and had no complaints. I think I was probably their number 1 or number 2 producer. So 3 years in, I had really nice success. I actually I thought I was doing everything right. And then the franchise came into play, and I saw, wow, I could be doing things a lot righter. So everything skyrocketed from there. So to answer your question, yes, individual agent and non-franchise. But I have nothing but great things to say about any top franchise, but especially Coldwell Banker. Emma? You have a question for Jeff?
Oh, for Jeff. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Jeff, I have a question for Emma. And you can't, no, not that question.
Where do you see yourself going specifically in real estate for the time being? Do you see yourself skyrocketing? Do you see yourself going into a full year of learning? How far do you think you're going to be going in your mind in your first year?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There's clearly so much to learn, so no matter what, it's going to be a full year of learning. I would love to skyrocket. I know that that's going to take a lot of work and follow-up and consistency, so I'm not expecting that to happen. Hopefully slow and steady. Definitely learning. We'll build a client base and hope to just keep growing that, but still definitely a lot of learning. Lifelong learner over here.
Interesting thing about the learning process when it comes to real estate, you actually learn as you churn, so to speak. So actually learning is part of the process, and you actually do business while you're learning. So you'll see that it definitely does get easier once you know more of the basics, of course. All right, so now, do you have your question for Jeff?
I know, every time you guys talk, I forget to think about a question.
Any question from the audience? I'm nothing if not an entertainer. No. All right, let's see. Well, earlier we talked about habits.
Yes.
Okay. And speaking of habits, Jeff just did something that's a slight pet peeve of mine. When you're with a client, you're not going to glance at your phone. Now, if you're expecting an important phone call from whether it's a spouse, a family member, you have someone that maybe is expecting results from a doctor, who knows, that is another story where you would say, listen, I sometimes go on to an appointment and I may say, listen, the only reason I would ever answer my phone is if my office calls, because my secretary, she never calls me. So if she's calling me, I think the building might be on fire. So I might have to answer that call. Okay, so you leave it at that. But get into the habit of not glancing at your phone. Get into the habit of when you're doing real estate, when you're out prospecting, when you're especially in front of a client, or even just the learning process. Get into the habit of not glancing at your phone, because I think that you could sour the relationship with a potential client right then and there. It tells them you have something more important, because that would be the only reason I would glance at my phone, if I have something more important to tend to. So that's getting to that habit. We have Apple Watches. I can glance at my Apple Watch, know if it's an important phone call or not. I know if someone's calling me or ringing me or texting me. There's no reason to create a real distraction and also take away from the rapport that you're building with your client.
I came up with a question.
Oh.
On the topic of routines, Jeff, I've kind of been with you for a day of you going over the day. I was coming with you to a listing appointment. What's your routine like? Because you seem to be after it 24/7. What's your day like?
That's a nice question.
Yeah.
When I usually go into my routines, I have trouble if I don't figure out the time that I'm going to be doing something the week before. I usually will spend the entire morning not doing anything. I need to give myself direction, and by direction, what I do is exactly what I told you. I have the scheduled appointment through Apple Calendar. What I do is I set up a time that I have to go back to said person, or I have to call, touch base, follow up, etc. Listing appointment, etc. I make sure that I have that scheduled at a certain time, so 2 nights before I look at it and go, I'm doing that day. And so I need to consistently put myself onto a routine to go through, and if I don't, I lose momentum and I just stand still for a second. And so me doing those appointments allows me to be able to continue moving and have a steady pace.
Yeah. You definitely works, because I never see you standing still. You're always going. That's what I would like to do as well. Have a schedule set up for the week. Still getting it kind of into routine of it, coming into the office a certain amount of days. But like you said, I would love to have a plan for the week, saying I'm going to talk to these clients this week on these days at this time, so I know what to expect and there's no question in my head. But that's definitely something that will take a little bit more time.
Usually what I do before I go to do the whatever type of setup, I'll go to the specific place and I will talk to the said person. Like, let's say I'm talking to Tony Davis at 13 ABC Avenue. I will talk to them on that appointment, whatever I have, and then once I'm done, I will sit outside for an extra 5 minutes and I will write down whatever we talked about as a reminder. When I go to do it, I look back at my notes to tell what I'm going to be doing and saying to these people back when I go back, and I reschedule the appointment for whatever time. If I don't talk to them, just put it down, schedule it for a week or 2 weeks in advance, and I just continue to do that where it snowballs until I have every single day filled up with something.
Yeah. Well, Emma doesn't know this yet, but Emma has been being put in a routine. This is how I manage and this is how I train, by plan, but also by subliminal messages. No, just kidding. We actually have created a routine. Emma, you know that we have certain learning days, and then there's certain working days. And so I take my cues from a lot of successful people, and one of them that's in our office building, one of the top producers, top agents in all of Coldwell Banker and also in Suffolk County. I noticed her routine today. Most recently, it differs from mine in just a couple of different ways. I like my Monday to be, my routine is kind of like to put together my day, my week, even my month. But my Monday is that, and that's kind of what we did today. We sat around, we went over any objections that were kind of like hanging out, and you also have a slight plan, if not a real plan for the rest of the week. Okay, but my routine is always, Wednesday is always deal follow-up day. That's the day I follow up. That's the day I call an attorney. That's the day I call a buyer or seller, if it's about getting paperwork signed or anything. Now, this other person that I mentioned, I noticed that Monday seems to be her follow-up routine, follow-up day. That's the day she makes her phone calls to, whether it's the attorneys, whether it's this person is supposed to sign paperwork. Oh, let's make sure we schedule the photo shoots for each of the houses. So I found it very interesting that she obviously has a great routine. But yes, slowly we're all being put into the same routine. When I was a new agent, my routine was fairly dictated to me because my broker believed in actual, like real, just like by the book kind of managing, and I was told to take 2 days and call them days off. So obviously I was a full-time agent, and what do most agents do? Open houses. So the weekend was not really a weekend, Saturday and Sunday off. You pick one of the days, use it as your day off. Then you take a weekday and you use that as your day off to run your errands, if it's catching up on anything non-real estate, getting my car inspected, getting new tires, getting brakes done. Do that on the off day. Now you have a weekday to tend to things, whether it's a doctor's appointment, that you might not be able to do on a weekend, and you have a weekend day that you want to assume is going to be your day off. And then slowly the routine builds itself, because you're going to know if you're more. The reason I use Wednesdays as follow-up days, because it's not a Monday. You're never going to run into a Monday holiday. Attorneys are always going to be on. Attorneys are always going to be in their offices. Bankers are always going to work. Mortgage people are going to be working. So Wednesday just made sense to be the follow-up day, no matter what. So slowly, you actually are subliminally having a routine. But it's an important thing.
Yes, definitely.
Have a routine.
Sure.
It's a little dry in here. I feel like my eyes are like... my left eye is having trouble seeing for some reason.
Oh, are you tearing up?
That's yeah, it's emotional right there. Oh.
Real estate has that effect on people. But that brings me to my other one-liner. There's no crying in real estate.
I don't know, maybe sometimes if people are mean to you. You can cry in your car, just not in front of them, right?
Oh, there's no reason to cry.
Yeah, we have the gym.
Yeah. Yes. Go to the gym. That'll make you cry.
Peanut gallery.
So. If you guys want to add anything?
I feel like a lot of the misconceptions with real estate is how people word things. Real estate sometimes isn't really physically challenging. You're not lifting something. You're not going anywhere. You're not picking something up. Sorry. You're not throwing a ball. You're not playing catch. It's just, well, you are playing catch, but you got to talk to different people, throw that information to the next person. But it's mentally more work than it would be physically. You have a lot more things that have to be on your mind to have something go through. When you're doing a real estate transaction, everything has to be a good team and perfection. If not, everything will fall through and you will have no legs to stand on.
Oh, see, I look at it completely differently. I feel in real estate, there's always an opportunity to catch the foul ball or fix a slight miscalculation, a slight mistake, maybe you misspoke to a seller. There's always an opportunity to correct. So I think that's a nice, easy thing about real estate. And I think sometimes real estate gets difficult because the individuals in it make it difficult. Just take one task at a time. My focus this week, my focus tomorrow is I'm interviewing an agent. Guess what my focus is? To have them join and recruit. Today, my focus was actually making sure I spent time with my newer agents. We went over what we wanted to go over in the morning. We have a plan. You each have an assignment that actually is work. You focus on that. You go and you just keep moving the football forward. Just keep going forward. Every day isn't a touchdown. And if it was, you should be doing a podcast on how to make every day a touchdown. But I think in real estate, it's all about moving the football forward. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Jeff. And this is The Real Ted G and the podcast. Join us next time.